First, thank you so much for just being with us. My name is Will Brummett. My pronouns are he and him, and I have the absolute honor and privilege of being the program manager for student engagement at Campus Compact. We have some amazing students who we're going to highlight today for our first session in our Student Impact Summer Series, where we're going to be highlighting some great student-led community engagement projects that were done by our Newman Civic Fellows as part of the All-State Foundation mini grant program. So thank you all so much for being here today and for learning a little bit more about these programs as well as the fellows and their great work. So first, I just want to start off by thanking our partner, the All-State Foundation. The All-State Foundation are really sort of the catalyst of this initiative and this idea. They really believe in the power of youth-led service and social impact. And they are the ones who sort of gave us the ability to fund some of these great students, these great Newman Fellows, as they work to impact both their campus community and also their local community throughout. And so none of this would without been possible without the faith and trust of the All-State Foundation. And so it's Campus Compact, and for myself personally, I just want to thank them for allowing us to try out this pilot project and to really see really reap the benefits of all these great projects that these students are going to talk about later today. So really quickly, I'm going to go over what the Newman Civic Fellowship is for those who are maybe unfamiliar with who these students are and sort of what they represent from across the country. So the Newman Civic Fellowship is actually named in honor of one of Campus Compact's founders, Frank Newman, who was a champion for student leadership and student voice. And basically what it is it's a year-long fellowship experience where every single Campus Compact member institution can nominate one student social change maker to be a part of this fellowship experience. And this fellowship experience incorporates an annual convening where we bring all the fellows together for a 3-day conference, monthly trainings and networking sessions that we provide them supplemental training and networking opportunities. We have a mentorship program where they're paired with a local mentor that meets with them at least 4 times throughout the year. And then we provide various funding and professional development opportunities that are specific for Newman's only as well. When we recruit students, the campuses are looking for and uplifting students who are really community committed students. And what we mean by that is students who've often already shown a great investment in improving both their campus and their local or national or global communities. So these are students who care deeply about not only being the leaders of tomorrow, but are already leading today as they look for solutions to sort of tackle some of the trickiest problems facing their communities. I like to say that Newmans come in all shapes and sizes. Our Newman class this year was a range of 19 to 57-year-olds. We have all different races, genders, economic statuses, and they're from all different parts of the country. We represented 38 different states last year in our Newman Civic Fellow class. So when people ask me, like, what does a Newman look like? I say a Newman looks like whatever a social change leader looks like on your campus. I would strongly believe that every Compact campus has a Newman Civic Fellow on your campus. It's just a matter of finding them, recruiting them, and nominating them for this great honor. The one requirement is that Newmans do have to have 1 year of eligibility left, so they are actually active students while in the fellowship. But that year of eligibility can either be in grad school if they just graduated but are staying on for another year, or if they just completed a community college experience, as many of our Newmans are also community college students, they could also be transferring to a 4-year institution. And lastly, in terms of our pure numbers, we typically have a cohort of around 150 to 200 Newmans every year. And we're proud to have been doing this program for now over 10 years and have almost a alumni database of over 1,900 alumni. So that's who you're talking to today. You're talking to 4 examples of Newman Civic Fellows on 4 different campuses from across the country. And they'll tell you a little bit more about their story and also their project that they're working on. I want to talk more specifically, though, about the purpose of the mini grant program that we started this year. Again, thanks to the support of the All-State Foundation, we really wanted to allow our Newmans not only to have the leadership ability and the leadership training, but really to sort of put rubber meets the road, where allow them to have funds to actually enhance the social change projects they're already doing or to start the ideas they already have. So the mini grant purpose really had 3 purposes each year. The first and foremost is community impact, whether that community was their local community, their national or global community, or maybe it started locally on their campus, but then also went out to the local community and impact. We really want to make sure that we are funding projects that we're going to make an immediate impact in some way. The second thing was student leadership. We wanted our Newmans to have the chance to really know what it means to apply for a grant, to learn how to manage your budget, to know how do you adjust when things don't go according to plan. And we saw this as a really great leadership sort of opportunity for all of our Newmans to step into it, because we know this is probably not going to be the last time that they're going to be maybe given grants to implement their own projects in their careers. And lastly, we always are about education and reflection, which is where today comes in, because we want all of our Newmans to really reflect on their experience, reflect on their growth through their Newman Civic Fellowship and through the mini grant, but also to make sure they're really not losing the lessons, even if things didn't always go according to plan. So with the mini grant specifically, in terms of what was the criteria for this before we kick it off to the students, the mini grants were basically for between $500 to $1,500 that individual Newmans could apply for a project, or they could apply for a joint Newman project of up to $3,000. All the projects had to be completed by June 30th of this year. So we sort of said tentatively they were awarded in the fall, but they had to be completed by the spring or early summer. And that was just to allow us to make sure we're reporting on it and presenting on it like we are to you all today. The projects could either be enhancing current work that the Newmans are already doing, or it could be an innovative idea. So if a Newman was already doing a great work as part of their Bonner Scholarship or their campus-wide leadership position, they could go ahead and like enhance that. Or if they said, hey, I really want to start a food pantry on my campus, but we never have had that, can I have a sort of seed funding? They could use it for that as well. Students were again allowed to choose the issue area as well as the method of change. For this first year of the program, we really kept it broad because we wanted to sort of see the variety of creative ideas that students brought forth. And you'll see that in the wide scope of projects, not only highlighted today, but in the weeks to come. And then ultimately, like I mentioned, students received grant training from us. So they received training prior to applying, so what to look for in the grant. And then if they were selected, they got monthly training on project planning, budget management, evaluation and assessment, and storytelling. So we really sort of helped guide the students along the way, but really did make sure this was student-led throughout. So myself and Morgan Goodwin, my colleague and the coordinator for student engagement, we did not dictate these projects. We really trusted the students, let them run with it, but we are there for support throughout. And ultimately, at the end of their experience, again, at the end of their projects, all students were required to do a final report, to do a sort of grant highlight report, do a presentation of some sort, of which you're seeing some of those today, and then do a final survey to make sure we can improve going forward. So that's a little bit about the mini grant program and just sort of what these students who are on this call today committed to on top of all their responsibilities. As a sort of a broad scope in terms of, again, who was awarded funds this year, we awarded 30 different mini grant winners from all competitive applicant pool. We awarded $47,000 in direct funding to those students. Those students represented 25 different states, 26 different issue areas. And as I mentioned, this was the first annual grant cycle. So we were really pleased with the creativity and innovation that these students showed in terms of their issue area, their approach, their ideas. And we're really happy to fund really an amazing set of these projects. Okay, so enough of me sort of talking. I'll tell you a little bit about who you're going to hear from today, and then I'm going to pass it on to the students who are the stars of the show. So first up, we're going to hear from Halle Gensler. Halle was the Newman Civic Fellow from Berea College in Eastern Kentucky. And Halle's going to talk about the Hunger Initiative, her project around uplifting rural homelessness, and how she tackled that in the Eastern Kentucky Appalachian region. Next up, we're going to go up to Lewis Fowler. Lewis is the Great Bay Community College Newman Civic Fellow, and Lewis is going to talk about the project Out of the Closet, a trans and genderqueer clothing swap and dance event, and how Lewis is an advocate for the trans and genderqueer community up there in New Hampshire as well. We're then going to pass it to Alex Edgar. Alex is the Newman Fellow from UC Berkeley on the West Coast. And Alex used the Newman Civic Fellow money to really enhance Bears Help Bears Vote. It's a big and important election season, obviously, and there are a lot of different ways to get the campus civically involved. And Alex is going to talk about how he used that money to do that. And last but certainly not least, we're going to end with Heidi Crum. Heidi is a current PhD student and a graduate student at the West Virginia University. And Heidi's going to really sort of open our eyes to the relationship between wardship and higher education, and how Heidi uses grant money to expand her research to make it more equitable for youth in wardship or foster care situations to access higher education and what that looks like. So with that being said, I'm going to now go ahead and pause my sharing, and I'm going to kick it on to Halle. So Halle, if you will, I'm going to pin you up right here, and Halle, you could take it from here.
Awesome. Do you see my screen?
Yes, and the final thing I forgot to mention is that if you all have questions, we're actually going to go through these just for time-wise back to back. But if you have questions, please put them in the chat or the Q&A function. At the bottom in the right-hand corner, there's see a box with the Q&A. Please put them there, and then Morgan and I will make sure we ask all the questions at the end. So if you have a question for all the fellows, you can address it to everybody, or if you have a question specifically about a project, please put it in there. Okay, Halle, you're good to go.
Awesome. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for coming to listen to our presentations. I'm going to talk to you about what we called at the college the Hunger and Houselessness Project. My grant was called the Hunger Initiative Uplifting Rural Houselessness. So, a little bit about me. My name is Halle. I go to Berea College in Eastern Kentucky. I am a major in women, gender, and sexuality studies with a concentration in the sexualities, with minors in peace and social justice and community and civic engagement. For Berea's work study program, I am a Bonner Scholar, but also the student director of community service. And the inspiration for my project comes from my own experiences with houselessness in the Chicago area from 16 to 18. And I wanted to bring that light when looking at the area in Eastern Kentucky. So, the overview of my project was connecting the local houseless population with nutritious food while creating indirect service opportunities for college students to volunteer in the area. So it was a bit of a layered process in trying to get through this as it's not my current or normal job at Berea. So the steps we had to take was reserving nights with the room in the inn, the local nonprofit we assisted. We had to create marketing materials to get students aware since it is a new initiative inspired by our yearly hunger initiatives. And you can see on the right a flyer of what that looked like. We also had to create the menus based on what we think may be a diverse way to introduce new food with nutritional value. We had to collect the groceries and buy them at different assortments due to the food desert in Berea. And then we had to cook alongside and with the volunteers each week. And ending that process, we would package and deliver the food to Room in the Inn. So some of the challenges we faced in recruitment is the block scheduling system that happened at Berea College. So that made it a bit difficult in getting students involved just due to scheduling at that time. On top of that, of course, there was always some volunteers that did not come just due to timing constraints or things showing up at the last minute, and station timing, which had to involve the cooking process since we had 4 different areas people could choose from based on their cooking comfortability, and each of those had different time requirements just because the task was either a little more involved or had more steps involved with it. So the timing sometimes was always a little different. And I got to learn a lot about myself in this project, being an organizer versus the manager more so. Reserving early with room in the inn, I realized was an issue as our school did not come back onto campus until mid January, and some of the nights I had expected were already full, which is great to see our community involved with wanting to help the issue, but then that became more strict for how many times we could reserve or what times we could pick from. And delegation also became important as we would have about 30 volunteers a night. So making sure I wasn't just cooking, that I was making sure everybody had a comfortable experience and felt comfortable with what they were doing. So some overall statistics from what we were able to gain from this project, we were over to create over 270 meals and 50 hygiene kits for a partnering org, the UP initiative. And we were also able to give clients and guests new tents, socks, undergarments, comfortable clothing, and a variety of other things based on what they had requested from the shelter, but they had not had the capacity to do so. And we had out of 46 people, 35 new volunteers who had not previously volunteered with Celts prior to this opportunity. And we had a survey and just open reflection period after each night cooking. And someone had said, as someone who has suffered with food insecurity in the past, I would encourage literally everyone to do projects like this. It is a small time commitment and low stress work, and people truly benefit from it. So we're able to see the deep set connections students were able to have cooking. And for the organization we partnered with, they were able to help 152 guests. Specifically, there was about 7 guests who openly talked about fleeing from domestic violence with using the services from the center, and 35 guests with diabetes. So that's another note to make sure it's even more important to have nutritional food, not only just for overall health reasons, but to make sure everyone's dietary needs are met. And with that, more funds were directly contributed to Room in the Inn, and directors from the organization were also keen to highlight that everybody, including the guests and volunteers with the program, were excited when we came to their area, as they knew we would have plenty of food for them to eat on top of having seconds. So that was just kind of a nice note to see our impact directly helping the community, both in a joyful sense and logistical sense. So this is some pictures from our first night where we did an Asian-inspired chicken and rice bowl, where there was a variety of different sides inspired, and on top of that, homemade cookies that we were able to create, and a variety was put into the tomorrow bags as well. For our second week, we were able to do something fun since it was Valentine's Day that week, and we made chocolate covered strawberries, about 100 of them, so everybody was able to have quite a few just to celebrate the holiday on top of our homemade cookies. And with this, we have burrito bowls with tortillas, so there was a variety of different beans people could pick, vegetables. We made a fresh pico de gallo and guacamole for people to enjoy, and yeah, on top of our tomorrow bags that we set up. And for our last week, we made everybody an individual chicken parmigiana with different vegetables such as eggplant and an assortment. And with that, we also had cookies, again, and a variety of extra snacks in our tomorrow bag since it was our last night, and including some fresh broccoli and mashed potatoes. So it was a really fun process to see everybody's different personalities come to light. And yeah, overall, the project made me reflect both on my experiences just personally and helped me grow to understand what it means to be an organizer in an area that especially needs help, such as Appalachia. And it was able to teach me a lot of skills for what teamwork means and what it means to be a empathetic leader in such situations. So yeah, I would love to thank the Allstate Foundation and Campus Compact for helping this project on top of Berea College Celts and the Room in the Inn Up initiative for helping us give back to their important mission. So thank you everybody for listening, and I really appreciate your time.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Halle. That was excellent. I should not have you gone first though, because now I'm super hungry and it seemed like an amazing meal that you all made. So within that. All right, next up, we're going to go to Lewis Fowler, who's the new museum fellow for the Great Bay Community College. So Lewis, I'm going to go ahead and spotlight you and then take it away.
Oh, pardon me. Give me just a minute, folks. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can see your screen. So you're good to go.
Fantastic.
Yeah, perfect.
Fantastic. All right. So hi, folks. I am Lewis Fowler. My pronouns are he, him. I am a business admin major. I'm very proud to be a Newman Civic Fellow this year. And I am also actually recently the winner of the Newman Compact President's Leadership Award as nominated by the president of my college. And most importantly to this event, I transitioned at about 18 and have since had an opportunity and a privilege to be able to live how I would actually like to. So I think it's important to me that I kind of tell you a little bit about myself so that you know better who you're talking to. So obviously that picture at the top left is me. The bottom left is all of the friends that I made at the convening who I still talk to, and who helped me in a million small ways and 100 big ones as well to get through this process. The top right is me and my partner. While we were doing some research on we were doing some research on how to better cultivate the information that we had, and so we could push it towards the funds better. And then the bottom right there is actually me, the president of my college, and my advisor who helped me through this program. So the process was a tumultuous one, but I was so grateful to be a part of this process. The event that I was creating was out of the basis of a club I already run on campus called PAC, Pride Alliance Club. And so actually during the convening in October, I was given the prompt, like, if we could give you money, what would you do to help the people around you? And so as like a cold sweat at 2 a.m., I sat up in bed and thought of out of the closet, which is a trans and gender queer clothing swap. And as it grew, we realized that there was a community that needed companionship. So from there, there was free food, free clothes, a dance event after where everyone got to like just party and hang out, as well as a bunch of vendors who are in the local area who support uh, trans and gender queer health and community events. So the process that the things that I really had to spend most of my time on was meeting with the senior leadership team and the president of my college. That was a little bit of a make or break on the way this was going to look. And through that presentation, I was able to really hone my skills on presenting an idea and allowing my passion and my drive for like a group that I care about so much to be translated in a way that was persuasive, and that was incredibly valuable because I am sure that is not the last time, and it hasn't been since the last time that I'm going to have to do that. Connecting with vendors was really interesting because we had a total of 5 vendors. They'll be mentioned a little later in the deck, but it was everything from like sliding scaled healthcare, so things like abortion care, but as well as trans care, OBGYN services, things like connecting trans and queer kids to other people in the community. There was a vendor that we worked with called Seacoast Outright, and their smallest community group is called the Little Outriders, and they are K through 5th grade. And into the oldest, which was run by Les Hang, and it's an elders group from, I believe the ages are 75 to 90. So we had like a huge impact on the community in terms of being able to give clothes to folks that, as I live in a red state, don't have access to a lot of the community services that you might find in other places. So the outcomes are what I am incredibly proud of. The bottom 2 pictures here, actually these bottom 3, the bottom 2 on the left and the bottom 1 on the right, is the amazing outcome of how many clothes we got. We actually got between 600 and 1,000. We kind of stopped counting. There was between 600 and 1,000 pieces of individual clothing actively donated to us, something around the lines of like 200 or 300 trash bags full of clothing. So the outcomes specifically: 50 genderqueer people directly affected by the project, 100 plus indirectly affected throughout the local community, 30 people fed, 5 funded to get their first chest binders, which I'll go into a little bit, and then 2 donations to the biggest organizations who support the trans folks and aid trans folks in the local area. So I'm going to break these down for you a little bit. We had, including student, staff, and folks coming in who were not a part of the student body, but were there to, partners of people who were volunteering, my partner, my good friends. Altogether, there were 50 people that were actively affected by the project, meaning they were given food and clothing and space to connect to like significantly cheaper than average healthcare, and a dance event where they could go out and actually meet other people in the community. That was the 50. 100 plus is indirectly because we then had such a wonderful abundance of clothing post the event that we basically just said, hey, if you want to come on campus, come in. No worries. We probably won't even be in the space. You have like a no judgment space to be able to go and pick out clothing. We will be there if you need us to, but you can be independent in your clothes shopping. And we gave them bags and everything of that nature. So it was put to me in a very comedic way as, oh my God, it feels like a free TJ Maxx. Which was pretty fantastic to hear, because there's a level of normalization that I got to give not only my community of trans and genderqueer people, but beyond that, a larger community in the Seacoast area who were clothing insecure. And beyond that, 30 people fed. We had an excess of food, which was amazing. So there were staff members that got to go home, and even actually community members who got to go home with full pizzas. And these are young trans folks who are in a red state, meaning they are very, very low on money, or they might be food or home insecure. And so we got to create sustenance for the next week in some of these cases. So it was really amazing. The thing I am most proud of, and the thing that I didn't know was going to happen at the beginning of this event, was I didn't realize how well I was going to learn to budget. And in turn, I realized we had this excess of a couple $100s of money. And I thought to myself, well, Will doesn't want it back. So where am I going to put this? And it was an amazing problem to have, because we realized that there were folks in the community that could not get items that would be gender affirming to them beyond clothing, things like chest binders and KT tape, which I'll get out of the jargon a little bit. Chest binders as a form of chest compression for female folks who are transitioning either to non-binary or to male because of dysphoria across the chest. KT tape used for things like tucking, as well as chest elimination. So just things that are necessary for the quality of life of these folks, and are also incredibly expensive. They run binders specifically run anywhere between, at like minimum, $27 to anywhere between $600 and $700, depending on what you're looking for. And so we were able to give 5 folks who had never had the opportunity to have gender affirming clothing and gender affirming articles that will support their dysphoria. We were able to give 5 different people their first chest binders. And there is something to be said for, you never understand until you watch someone get it for the first time, because there is a look of joy and peace that is like unmatchable. And then as well, there were 2 donations to the biggest organizations who have supported me and the folks around me in the Seacoast area, who were specifically Seacoast Outright and Lovering Health Center. Lovering Health Center supports AFAB people in like any type of OBGYN, abortion care, but also trans people as a whole, making sure that they are safe and comfortable in their process of transitioning. And then Seacoast Outright is a community group as well. So this is the wonderful part about this. I feel in the ideology I have been given by the Newman Civic Compact program, they want you to succeed. They want you to move forward. They want you to use the skills. And I have the most wonderful opportunity of being able to do that. So next steps. A yearly program for which I have learned the skills to create, skills not limited to basic grant writing, communication with faculty and staff, social media and physical marketing, budget and cost analysis, and so many more. The confidence I have in speaking in front of groups of people has skyrocketed since the beginning of this program. And this is what I'm really excited about, the end game. Out of the Closet is going to become a 501c. So we have this wonderful opportunity that we realize that the Seacoast Portsmouth area is abundant with people who want to help, which is really, really unique as we are in a red state. And so moving forward, what this looks like for me is next year, we're going to bring on the program again at this time next year, through my own basic grant writing skills and through the foundation I have created at my school. And then beyond that, once I'm out of school, it's going to be turned into a 501c. And we hopefully are going to be able to go around and do this everywhere I'm given access to. With the wonderful ability to be able to fine tune while I'm still in the safety and the educational space that I'm in. So I have had since October, or I should say October, December, to really just cultivate this program and to round it out and fine tune. And because of that, there were so many skills that were weak in me before that are no longer weak. Things like work-life balance. We actually, during the convening, talked about like the ideology of the advocacy martyr. And it is that you work yourself to death because you don't want to put it on anyone else. And the wonderful thing about this is it taught me to delegate, and it is transferred into the rest of my life. Communication, and this is in a big way and in a million small ways. Communication with things like vendors, so that I have learned how to keep really, really straightforward and give people the facts that they need, but also empathetic communication with the people who are trying to work with me and want to see this succeed, but don't have my mission in mind. They can't read my brain, so I have to be able to communicate that somehow. And there were struggles, but I am better for it. And this turned out exactly how I wanted it to. So clearly there was some type of success there. Presenting material in front of groups, which was fantastic. There were a lot of times that I had to basically be like, hey, please help us. We need blank, blank, and blank, and had to be persuasive enough and confident enough that they believed that I knew what I was doing. So confidence, decision making, delegation were all super, super big parts of this. So I would like you to just briefly introduce you to the folks in that picture, because they were the reason this happened. So starting with me right in the middle, the guy with the lanyard and the pink shirt, that is me. To my left is my girlfriend, Kari Dexter, who was a integral part of making the actual day happen. To my right is the president of my college, Dr. Lesser. She is a um, advocate, a supporter in a way that I never thought I could be supported by an institution. She paved a way so I could walk. It was fantastic. Just off to the right of her, that is my best friend Eli. He was another one of my right hand men that night. And anything that I wasn't capable of doing, I gave it to these folks, and they just said, okay, run with what you need to run with. We got this. And the amount of trust in this group was crazy. The bottom left is Katie Mercier. She was a huge help with sorting clothing, as well as getting signage created. So people knew where they were going. They understood the process in which they were going to be working through the event. The middle bottom there is Sam Dixon. He was the sole reason those clothes got folded. And that seems like a small feat until you realize we had like somewhere between 600 and 1,000 pieces of clothing. It took him 3 days of nonstop work. And the other two folks on the end here were both incredibly kind and empathetic, and were really, really amazing in showing people where they needed to go, and explaining things in a way that might not be overwhelming for those folks who had sensory issues during the day. If I have learned anything in this process, it is that gratitude is everything. I first want to say I'm incredibly, incredibly grateful for Campus Compact. Beyond the money that I was given a set of skills that I don't think I could have matched anywhere else. And I was given a community of people who are like-minded, and that is so incredibly rare. My academic staff as well, who believed in me, like, period. And if I was like, I can't do this, I don't know what's happening, because it was a very tumultuous process. We live in a red state, and it was just like learning how to market so that the people who needed it knew, but the people who were maybe not going to be safe in the space, or were going to try to harm the group that was meeting, um, wouldn't have access to the information about the event. It was very, very focused, and it was very tight rope to walk on. And the academic staff that I had, specifically Dr. Lesser, my advisor Sam Clausen, and my academic advisor Kristen Altamar. So if you look at these pictures, the two ladies on the left are Dr. Lesser and Sam, and the nice lady in the pink sweater on the right is Kristen Altamar. As well as Seacoast Outright and Lovering Health Center, who were just on board from the minute I gave the idea, gave me all of the support I needed, and just broadcasted this to everyone that they could tell. As well as, if I had questions, I was able to go to the folks at Seacoast Outright and be like, you've been running a 501c for 25 years. Can you give me any advice? And they were instrumental in the amount of information that I had, in the way I was processing things. So, long story short, it was a success. I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity, and I plan on moving this forward. And I would just want to say a huge, huge thank you to Campus Compact, because I changed other people's lives, but it changed mine. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Lewis. That was incredible and such a overwhelming and a positive thing to see. Because I remember when we talked about the initial idea, and it's a great example of what students can do when you just trust them and let them run with it. So congrats to you, Lewis, on a huge, huge success. And appreciate all the shout outs, but really you did this with you and your team there. So next up, we're going to go to Alex Edgar. Alex is a student at UC Berkeley, but if you know Alex, Alex does a million things. I could not even do the intro for Alex because it'd be too long. So Alex, I'm gonna kick it to you. Talk a little bit about your Bears Help Bears Vote, which is not an animal-based initiative for voting. It's actually UC Berkeley's mascot. So Alex, I'm gonna kick it to you and take it from here. All right, good.
Awesome. Okie dokie. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're great. Go
ahead. Awesome. Well, hi everyone. My name is Alex Edgar. This is Bears Help Bears Vote. And yeah, a little bit about me. I just recently graduated from UC Berkeley, and yes, Bears are our mascot at Berkeley. So that's where the Bears Help Bears Vote comes from. And I was a political science major, public minor. I did a lot of work within the democracy space, both on campus, in California and across the country. And yeah, super, super excited to be sharing about this here. And yeah, kind of the mission was to really develop better resources that were not just for this election season, but can be continued to be used in the future. And programming, created in partnership, not just as like young people, as college students, but also with staff and faculty that would really accurately represent the diverse voices on our campus and the identities and needs that our audiences on campus needed. So kind of through the student government and our public service center, we're creating this program that's really focused on, building up to election day, but also how do we continue to help, UC Berkeley Bears, Gold Bears, learn how to vote and stay engaged in civic engagement beyond election. So a lot of our key successes are focused around messaging and programming and supporting students with voting, particularly with getting our first secured polling location on campus. That was at no cost to students, because in the past, our student government had actually funded a polling location. So that was a super big win. We were able to provide a lot of resources outside of the polling location and a lot of incentives and support to help students who needed some help finding where it was, but also figuring out how filling out a ballot works. We also helped with campus messaging. So me and my team worked really hard to develop campus-wide emails that went to all students, staff, and faculty, focused on voter registration, and then also a get out the vote reminder the week before election day. So both of those messages were super successful. We're seen by thousands of UC Berkeley students, faculty, and staff, and got really positive feedback. And also included our contact information if they had any questions, and we were able to help even more students figuring out their voting process through that. And then also kind of focus on Democracy Day, which this semester was the primary elections in California, but is also a program that we're in the process of kind of putting up even more, focused on making Election Day beyond just voting and thinking about how we can make civic engagement a key part of our kind of like day-to-day interactions. So we did a ton of voter engagement events and provided 8 student groups on campus with grants that were able to support community-led, community-based voter engagement, which we have seen is super, super helpful in getting particularly communities that have not traditionally been engaged in the democratic process or welcome at all due to legal and social barriers, the ability to have greater resources. So yeah, kind of talked about that. And here's some photos. Like here's one event that one of our teenage student groups on campus hosted called Let's Talk About Voting. They had a ton of resources that we helped create collaboratively with them. But we also provided tacos and salsa and other things to students to help them be in community, but also celebrate their civic engagement. We hosted a ton of other events, from pizza parties with a whole thing about voting Bill of Rights and how to vote and where to vote, to a review of the 2024 ballot and helping explain key differences in a nonpartisan way between students, between candidates for the student body. And then this was another one of my favorites. The Black Student Resource Center, we collaborated with them to do a Chick-fil-A to the polls. And it was a great way to collaborate and make sure that Black community on campus, which again, is traditionally lacked access to our democracy, was being uplifted and provided with key resources and information, but also a positive reinforcement alongside students to make sure they knew that, you know, voting is a right, it's a privilege, but it's also something that can be fun and part of our civic engagement practices. And some room for improvement now that the first bit of this project is over, is that it definitely focused on expanding the scope. We started off obviously with the initial 8 groups to partner with, and are really excited, even though I graduated, that I'll talk about in a second, but the partnerships to expand and hopefully provide even more grants, and also hopefully provide some grant funding specifically towards faculty and staff associations to see how we can, you know, through student engagement with them, help them further share our messages and resources. Second is the Berea Help Center. We had to kind of shift it to more tabling focus just due to space availability. And I'm really thinking for the fall presidential election, trying to think how we can get a physical space to have a help center, or some form of Zoom room that we could do more consistent help. And then also just more broadly, increasing participation, seeing how we can partner with other groups on campus to ensure we're reaching the maximum numbers. And for continuity, the student government and our public service center are going to be collaborating for the coming school year on this program, and have been applying for other grant funding and allocating stuff to ensure that this process can continue. And we're super excited about that. As for personal growth, I think one of the biggest things that this taught me is that everything is better in community. I think that really is just so true. And that, you know, students had such a positive reaction and response when their civic engagement, their voter education was coming from trusted procedures within their own created groups. That's definitely something that I learned from this process and want to continue taking forward. Second thing is to develop a MVP, so minimal viable product, and moonshot. And I think that is one thing that would have been really helpful in the beginning, is having like, what is the bare minimum that I want to see from the project, and also what is like the back, what is the in our wildest dreams, what's it going to look like. And I think that would have been a little bit more helpful to kind of see like, you know, what I can accomplish and what, you know, hopefully we can reach. I think also another thing is like, still post-COVID, everything, not that we're really out of COVID, the kind of strengths and limitations of like electronic outreach. There's a lot less like connection between student groups on campus. So definitely going forward, trying to think how we can better engage and better work with community and student groups, potentially do more in-person outreach. And last, that building trust and connection in democracy with each other. I just noticed that each other spelled wrong. That's on me. But yeah, that is super, super important that you know, our democracy is lacking a lot of trust and a lot of connection with young people. And one way to help rebuild that is by introducing it in our communities and with each other. So thank you so much for listening, and also thank you to Campus Compact and also Foundation for all their support. This project really happy about.
Awesome. Great job, Alex. Thank you so much for that wonderful work as well. You did a fantastic job, and I'm just always amazed by Alex's leadership in the democracy space. And just so, Alex, even though you graduated, definitely someone to keep up with as well, because he may be future governor of California one day or someone else as well. So Alex is just a great student and does great work. So congratulations on that. All right, last but not least, we go to Heidi Crum, who's going to tell you a little bit about her journey and a little bit more about how her mini grant is sort of assisting her on her research and her work to become Dr. Crum, and about the really important issue of wardship in higher education, which not a lot of folks know about, but it's a really huge issue. So with that, Heidi, I'm going to pass it to you. All right, and we can see your screen, Heidi, and you're just muted. Just a sec.
Oh, I am muted. I fixed it. Thank you.
Welcome.
So let's see. I'm thankful for the opportunity to share with Campus Compact and the All-State Foundation what this grant opportunity has meant for me. I will be inviting you to participate in a short activity. And that activity will involve 3 scraps or bits of paper. So if you have a blank sheet of paper now, that's going to work well for our activity together. So looking at just a brief introduction to the project, my dissertation title is called Programs of Support for Wardship Experienced College Students, Exploring Program Directors and Intended Students' Expectations and Experiences. I applied for this grant for the purposes of better understanding how to research this demographic with the goal of affecting positive changes toward this group. In my earliest experiences with research, I was in fact researched. This is a short video. We won't have time to watch it today, but I would encourage you to just do your own research and pull this video up so you can see it for yourself. It will give you a strong background of what the experiences are for college students with wardship experience. You might ask yourself, what could college do to prepare itself or ready itself to receive this girl on its campus? I thought it would be prudent to be pretty vulnerable with you and share with you a poem that I had written when I was a girl regarding research. My daughter actually read this and she offered to recite it too. So just in case technology doesn't work, I will read it. But my daughter's voice is on audio as an option on this also. And it reads, home to home, place to place, memories remembered and in my face. Let me forget, let me be free of the pain, by the pain only known to me. Mistakes I make more times than one. To forget my life, I try to have fun. I look at the stars high above me and I smile knowingly, for I can be in the spotlight and in the camera too, but to take off my mask, boy, I'd look like a fool. Yeah, I can be the star all right, but if I leave the stage too soon, don't get yourself uptight. If people leave me for no reason, why would I give you a reason to go? If you're a person I cannot stand, you would never know. Once again, I look to the stars. Is each one solo or just alone? Let me be my own movie and my own producer too. I'd cut out half the things I've seen and everything I've been through. Then I would be me, just me, the person here beside you. So don't ask any more questions and quit wondering why. Just let me live the only life I can, the one that was given to me. Hello and goodbye. The reason why this poem is so striking and instrumental to this space that I'm in now is because the girl of me didn't want to be poked at like I was a science experiment. But the woman of me knows that outsiders are trying to help. So how can we get an in-group representative voice to explore and to help translate the experiences of individuals with wardship as they come onto campuses? I have experience with wardship since I was an infant and I aged out at 15, but I am not the universal voice. That would be an inappropriate decision to move forward with my research proclaiming. So I really need to learn how to research the demographic that I also identify with. So I used this grant funding. For the opportunity to surround myself with shared experiences and with shared professional goals. I do want to invite you to participate in this activity now. So this does move fast, it's intended to, and I can't see your facial reactions, so if it seems like you can't keep up, that's okay, and that can kind of be part of the point. So imagine there's a knock at your door. You are perplexed because it's the middle of the night. You open the door and the person informs you that there has been a dangerous gas leak. The entire community is affected. You are assured that the situation is under control. The gas leak will be fixed, but for your safety, you'll need to quickly evacuate your home. You'll be temporarily transported to a place of safety until the gas leak is successfully resolved. Each person is invited to collect 3 precious things to take with them. We must hurry for our safety. Quickly select your 3 precious things, writing down 1 item on each piece of paper now. You are now waiting outside, clutching your small bag of 3 items. The bus arrives to transport you to safety. Along with neighbors, you climb aboard. Before you reach the destination, however, the bus experiences mechanical problems. 2 vans will now transport you all the remaining stretch of the journey. Because each van is significantly smaller than the bus, each person is asked to leave behind 1 item. From your 3 pieces of paper, choose the item you will leave behind. Crumple that paper now. Though this journey already feels like it's taken hours, it's still dark outside. Because people are crammed tightly into this van, you didn't realize it when someone secretly stole one of your items. Choose now the item that was stolen from you during the transport. Crumple that paper now. Continuing, you finally reach a dark office building. The room is filled with cubicles with empty desks. You are told to wait on a bench. You're tired. You learn that the gas leak will take longer to repair than expected. You sit on a cold bench while the person starts making phone calls. While you wait, you listen as the person speaks into the phone. You don't know who they're talking to, but you hear. Are you sure you can't take them? Not even for the night? Okay, I'll keep trying. You recognize they are trying to find you a place of shelter. Eventually, the person finds someone who agrees to take you in for the night, but they really don't have the space to accommodate you and all your things. Your last remaining item will need to be left behind. Take your final precious thing and crumple that paper now. A little bit of my personal background looked like physicality was temporal. It was often conditional. Adults are often unsafe. They're unhelpful to meet needs, and they have hidden agendas. My identity was bound by my case file and my dead name. I belonged to no one. And inquiry into my experiences felt artificial, clinical, and removed. And then I began to research as an academic. The photos in the 3% are mine. I like to apply Bronfenbrenner's ecological systems model when I consider wardship in higher education. It's a really helpful model to steward the processes between the transients and the experiences prior to entering wardship. So looking at the dissertation project, again, the title is called Programs of Support for Wardship Experienced College Students and Exploring Program Directors and Intended Students' Expectations and Experiences. There's a reason program directors want to start programs of support for students on campus. And there's a reason for intended students, either participation or not. And these are questions that need to be answered in order to change that 3% outcome. So as I look at my development, I have my lived experience. I am the expert of my own life story, but I also need to consider academic and professional colleagues. And this grant allowed me to do that by having access to professionals in the field. There were only 2 workshops that I was able to attend because it's just not, it's not a topic that is popular or common, but I did look at both and I was so thankful for both. I was able to gain networking and connections that really propelled me forward, and I'm so thankful for that. And also the experiences of what I call wardship kin, the individuals who, as I would leave a placement and that cot and pillow was left behind, the next person who might use it, their stories matter too. So this is a glimpse of the budget that was provided to me. I did apply for the $1,500, and I went first headstrong for workshops, conventions, any public way that I could brainstorm and bump elbows with like-minded individuals. Again, there were only 2. So what I did with the remaining budget was I wanted to find those stories, and some of them are published. There's not many, but there are people who have stories that are a little bit different and a little bit similar to mine. And I went through Amazon and I bought the ones that I felt could stand strong with my dissertation, that I would be proud to connect with them in my work, and that they would have a small financial recompense for the purchasing of their book and supporting in a financial, very tangible way their ability to stay alive and to put their story to print. So that is a library that I now have because of you. And I was able to go to the 2 conferences. I have a total of 25 texts now. And in addition, some research materials and equipment that can help make sure that I'm best stewarding these resources moving forward. They're not just going to get dusty on my shelf. So my dissertation defense is anticipated next year. My current need, I'm looking for ethical rumor. I'm looking to find the participants who might share their stories with me. I don't want to do that for nothing. And the hope is upon successful completion of this program, that I will have a product worthy to contribute to the field academically, professionally, but also to my wardship kin. So thank you to Campus Compact and to the Allstate Foundation.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Heidi, for that and just for your journey. And we have no doubt that funding just a small part of your journey and the research that you're doing, the community engaged research, the impact it's going to have ripple effects for hundreds, if not thousands, of hopefully other future youth and students who are in wardship who also want to access higher education and improve their lives. So thank you for that and how you're doing it, and how you've been a really great steward, not only of the resources, but also just using your story to impact others as well. I want to recognize and honor that we are right at time. So if you have any Q&As, you can please put them in the chat and we'll get to those. We'll message the Newmans afterwards and get you answers as best we can. I do want to just quickly advertise, if you are really interested or inspired by what you heard today and you want to know more, please reach out to myself or Morgan, who's again on this call. Our email information is on the screen right now. If you're interested in having a Newman Civic Fellow on your campus, but you don't currently have one next year, or you're not sure if you do, please message us. We'd love to work with you. We are working with a handful of campuses who weren't able to get in a Newman nomination in the spring, or who want to become members of Campus Compact and add a Newman. We are working with some this summer to get that. Or if you're an incoming Newman and you're really excited about this and you want to talk about your own mini grant project or ideas, please email us as well. I've gotten a request that if the fellows PowerPoints will be available afterwards, we will share those out if they make those publicly available, and we'll share those out. But we'll probably do that at the end of the series, because the final reminder that we're going to offer you is that we will have 2 more series of these great mini grant projects. June 18th, next Tuesday at 1 o'clock Eastern time, and then Wednesday, June 26th. So at each one of those, you're going to hear from, again, another between 4 to 6 Newmans and their projects. And then we will continue to also be recording these, sharing out the recordings, as well as posting on social media and on our website with other videos of Newmans and their projects. So thank you so much to Heidi, Alex, Halle, and Lewis for the incredible work you did, the incredible impact you've made, and for the growth you've done. And thank you again so much to the Allstate Foundation for allowing this to be possible for all of our students to make change in their community, whether it be through direct service, community building, voting and civic engagement, research, whatever it may be. You see the type of work that these students are doing, and you see the type of people they are in the world. And it gives me hope that they exist and that they are able to keep on going. And it's been a joy to be a small part of your all's journey. So thank you all again. Thank you so much for attending today's session. And again, we hope you all will register for the next 2 sessions coming up next week. With that, we'll let you all go. Have a great rest of your all's day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.